Hi there, my name is Sue. Welcome to my channel. If you have not been here before, I've been eating a carnivore diet for a bit over 2 years, and I've been doing videos throughout my whole journey and talking about what's been going on with my health, what's improving, what's not improving. In my last video, I spoke about how I'd started on colostrum, and it had kind of taken me by surprise because I took the full dose and my body reacted quite strongly to it, and it gave me a few days that were kind of pretty miserable. So I backed off on my dose, and since then I've been taking 1/4 teaspoon of colostrum in the morning and at night, and I have some very good news to report. But prior to that, I just wanted to explain what colostrum does and some of the things that it actually does in our bodies. The reason that I decided to try colostrum, I'd been thinking about taking it for quite a while. I'd been looking into it, kind of mulling it over, and I wanted to try it, but I was having trouble actually finding a good brand here in New Zealand, something that I was happy with. And so, as I mentioned in my last video, my last update video, the company here in New Zealand that I buy my liver supplements from, they have just started selling colostrum. So they are homegrown primal. So if you're in New Zealand, they're a fantastic company. I highly recommend their products and their service. They're really good. And they have quite a few different products, and I'm guessing they're going to be adding to those as time goes on, because the colostrum is just a new product that they've started selling. So when I saw that they were selling colostrum, I decided, okay, it's time to try it, because I do like their products and I was happy to use their colostrum. So I ordered some, and as I said in my last update video, I took the recommended dose, which is a teaspoon, a level teaspoon, and I took it that night that I got it, and I took some the next morning, and then I was in a whole world of misery for the rest of the day. Back and forth to the toilet with diarrhea and abdominal pain, and just feeling really miserable and down and depressed and all the rest of it. And I had a couple of days that weren't so good, but each day kind of gradually got better, because I realised after that maybe I shouldn't have gone onto the full dose straight away. So what I did was I actually jumped online and started looking for other people's experiences with colostrum, and discovered that some people do react quite strongly to it, especially it seems if they are like me, where they've had long-standing gut health issues. And so it's best to start off on a small dose. So what I did was I backed right off and started taking just a 1/4 teaspoon dose. And I've been taking basically a 1/4 teaspoon in the morning when I first get up in the morning, and then a 1/4 teaspoon before I go to bed at night time. And I am pleased to say that things have improved immensely. I actually have a feeling that the colostrum is possibly the last thing that my gut needed. Now, the reason for this, I did a video, my actual last video, which wasn't an update, it was just answering a couple of questions. I was talking about how there was a gentleman who had commented on one of my videos, and he had said, how come your journey has been so difficult? He said, I find you an interesting case, because he's been on carnivore for 9 months and it's been really cruisy. And I've been on it for 2 years. I'm still struggling with my gut. And, I can understand the confusion that people might have, because it's like, isn't carnivore supposed to heal everything? But I know I'm not the only one, because other people comment on my videos, and I think that I seem like an unusual case, because there's not a lot of people like myself who are really struggling with a lot of things that have YouTube channels. Most of the YouTube channels are people who at least seem to have an easy journey. They've lost heaps of weight and they're doing really well and everything else, whereas for me it's been kind of more bumpy. My health has improved massively in the last 2 years, and there's no way that I ever plan to stop eating this way. But my gut health, and along with that my mental health, because it's very connected to my mental health, have been kind of this ongoing thing. When my gut's upset, then my anxiety gets worse, and if it gets really upset like it did when I started on the colostrum, my depression kind of kicks in. I haven't had any depression for such a long time. Like, my that doesn't even seem to be a thing for me anymore. But that day it was, I just felt like crying and I was really miserable. So it can still happen if my gut gets really upset, obviously. But so my gut health has been the main thing. And, when he said to me, like, why, how come this is still a thing after 2 years? I think that the answer to that is kind of complicated because, when you've had gut issues all your life, I'm 60 years old, so it's been most of the last 60 years that I've had issues with my gut, and it's got gradually worse and worse and worse. And then the mold issue on top of that. And I think it's the mold toxicity, the mold exposure that I had for those years that I was working in my business premises. I think that is kind of what has made it so difficult to resolve. Mold is quite a tricky thing, and when you're trying to kind of muddle through things yourself without the assistance of a professional who really knows what they're doing, it's just a little bit tricky. And so I've done protocols for SIBO, and I've taken berberine and all these different things, oregano oil, to help to correct what was going on. I've also used binders. Even prior to Carnivore, I was using charcoal and bentonite clay and things like that. So I feel like I've come a long way, but it's still, as I've said before, it's still easy to upset. And I've had a feeling that the colostrum might be just that last thing that I might need to just get it to where it needs to be. And I feel now like my intuition was correct, because once I backed off on my dose and everything settled down, especially the last maybe 6 days, everything has just been amazing. My last 2 days last week with clients, I was really calm, my gut was calm, everything's just been feeling really chilled and really settled. The only little kind of bump that I've had was a few days ago, I can't remember what day it was. I thought I might try taking a half a teaspoon this morning. And I shouldn't have done that. I can't remember what day it was, but I think it might have been maybe the middle of last week. And it upset my gut again. And I told my husband, and he said to me, now, you said that you weren't going to increase your dose for at least a week. And I went, yeah. And he said, so how many days has it been? And I was like, 3. And he just looked at me. So I was like, okay, I won't try that again. So I have been sticking to my 1/4 teaspoon dose morning and night, and I'm not sure how long I'll do that for before I'll try and increase it again. I may try and increase it again this weekend coming, perhaps. So that'll be another week, because today is Monday. So yeah, maybe next Sunday or something I might actually try just tweaking it up a little bit and see how I go. So yeah, so I'm feeling like everything is really going well with the colostrum, and my thoughts are that this is just what I needed, because the colostrum actually helps to detox mold out of your body. And that wasn't something that I realised until I was listening to an interview with the lady who owns the Armra Colostrum company. So Armra are a little bit of a different colostrum product, because they apparently have a cold processing technique. And so it's basically like a raw colostrum, and they take out some of the things that people can be allergic to. So even people who are allergic to dairy, who can't tolerate dairy, can use Armra colostrum usually. So I'll pop a link to the Armra colostrum below this video. If I was in the US, I would actually try that. I'm not sure whether I can order it from New Zealand. I think it would probably work out too expensive for me, because converting the US dollars to New Zealand dollars. But yeah, if you want to try that, Armra, if you're in the US, I'll have a link to that below. So when I was listening to her, I think it was her, she said something about the colostrum detoxing mold from the body, and I was like, okay, so how does that work? And apparently because I started having a look online, and it's because it contains reasonably high amounts of lactoferrin, and so lactoferrin binds mold. and helps to get rid of funguses and things like that from the body. So the other things that colostrum do in our bodies is, besides being really beneficial for gut health, is it helps to balance the microbiome, and it helps with recovery from exercise. It can help with muscle and joint pain and inflammation, and it helps. It's really good for skin and hair, which is interesting. I'm going to get my husband to start taking it because he still has some issues with his skin. So not psoriasis, but he gets funny little lumps and bumps and things all over him all the time, which I think is part of a detox as well. But he gets these kind of dry, funky patches mostly on his face and his head. So we're going to try the colostrum for him as well. And the lactoferrin that's in the colostrum. So the lactoferrin in bovine colostrum is not as high as it is in human colostrum. So human colostrum has a really high amount of lactoferrin in it. The human breast milk also has a high amount of lactoferrin in it. But the bovine colostrum is not as high as that, but it's still fairly high compared to other dairy products. And lactoferrin is involved in various physiological functions. This is from a study, I'll read it to you. Lactoferrin is involved in various physiological functions, including iron regulation and the innate immune response, and has been demonstrated to have anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, anti-allergic, and anti-cancer properties. So it strengthens the immune system, and that's the thing, is those mucosal barriers. So the mucosal barriers in our body include, our gut, but also our mouth and our sinuses and our lungs. So it's all of those areas that are potentially exposed to the outside world, and a huge amount of our immune system is in or on those mucosal barriers. And so the chemicals and the things that we're exposed to these days can play a part in breaking down those barriers. So it's like within the gut, when you end up with leaky gut and that sort of thing, it allows things into our bodies that shouldn't be there. And so one of the things that colostrum does really well is it boosts the immune system, and it helps to seal up those leaky patches, those breaks in the mucosal barriers, and keep them nice and strong so that we have those barriers to the things that might harm us if they can get into our bodies. So that's kind of, so where I'm at with the colostrum, as I said, is that I'm feeling really good on it now, as long as I keep my dose at a place where it doesn't upset things. And I feel like it's really having some benefits. My everything, my mood and everything has been really, really good. So the other thing that I've been having a look into is deuterium. So if I step back a bit, I love putting pieces together, and like when I watch things, I'll have little things firing off, going oh, because I listen to a bit of this and a bit of this and a bit of this, and then all of a sudden things start to come together for me. But I'm not always very good at explaining it. So listening to Mary Ruddock quite a while back, this was probably last year sometime. I was listening to Mary Ruddock, who is basically carnivore or close to. She follows an ancestral diet, and she teaches people to eat in an ancestrally appropriate diet, because if you've not come across her, she has a really good channel. She's really interesting to listen to. She was very ill with a disease that I can't remember what it was, and was bedridden for quite a long time. And then after trying many, many things, she decided that she was only going to eat the foods that were eaten traditionally by our ancestors, and she got herself well doing that. So that's what she does now, is she goes around, she's a nutritionist, and she goes around the world and she speaks to, she goes and spends time with different people who are living more traditionally, and people who are living really long lives, healthy lives. She talks about the supposed blue zones and the truth about those, and she's been and stayed with the Hadza and different people like that. So when she was talking about the Hadza and staying there, she said that she never really saw them drink water, and her film crew went out hunting with the Hadza, and she said her and her film crew were just about dying of heat exhaustion, drinking gallons of water. The Hadza didn't drink. And I thought that was really interesting, because prior to that, so stepping back a little bit further, when I was in the steak and butter gang originally back in 2022. I remember Coach Raymond talking about dry fasting, and I'd never heard of dry fasting before. So this is where you fast without water, or without water for as long as you can. And it has health benefits. And when I heard that, that kind of intrigued me a little bit. And then listening to Mary Ruddick, and she was talking about the Hadza and how they really don't drink water. Like she doesn't really remember seeing them drink water, and they definitely didn't drink when they were out hunting in that heat, and I thought that's interesting. So their bodies are working in a different way from ours, because like I get thirsty, I need to drink. So how come I get thirsty when I'm sitting on my butt doing nothing, and yet they're out hunting in the heat, running and catching game, and they're not drinking? And so this kind of intrigued me. So now listening to, I've been listening to Dr. Sarah Pugh, she's a PhD, talking about deuterium and interviewing different people about deuterium. And so the deuterium, what they're saying, because she was interviewing a naturopath who works with deuteronomics, I think is what she calls it, with her patients. And both her and Sarah have studied Dr. Jack Kruse's work and other scientists who've been looking into deuterium. And what they were saying is that when we've been told to drink all of this water, and so when we do that, it stops our bodies from making its own water in our cells. So it slows down or stops that process from happening. And that's why we basically need to drink more than we should, I guess, because the system's broken. We're damaging our system by drinking too much water. And because we're drinking so much water, we're putting too much deuterium in. So it's funny because prior to watching this video, I'd actually been wondering whether I was drinking too much, because I'm thinking back to, Mary Ruddick's thing and the dry fasting thing. And I had been thinking about, when I start fasting again, about trying to not drink for as long as I can during the day, and, trying to stretch that out and make myself go for longer periods of time without drinking, because my habit has become getting up in the morning and I'll have a big, glass of water or a big guzzle of water, and then I'll make myself a pot of herbal tea, and which has 2 big mugs, so it's probably over half a litre of tea that I would drink in the morning, one cup after another, until that's gone. So, and that had been kind of on my mind. It's like, am I causing more of a problem by drinking? I didn't know about the deuterium side of things. That wasn't what I was thinking, but I was thinking, am I drinking too much? Is this part of my problem? Is it part of my gut health problem? Is it part of my the inflammation that I still get in my body? And then, I came across this video with Sarah Pugh, and listening to that, light bulbs were going off. So I've actually stopped having the tea in the morning, and I've been trying to keep my water consumption to a minimum, because, my friend bought me this bottle for my birthday, and I love drinking out of it. It's glass, and it just, I don't know, there's just something that's really nice about drinking out of it. And our water that we drink, we distill our water, and then we add the mineral drops that I have them linked below, mineral drops back to it, which have quite a nice taste. And so I've found myself, over recent months, just drinking lots of water, and I'll drink 2 or 3 of these a day, plus my pot of tea in the morning. So I was probably drinking at least 3 litres of water a day. So I'm trying to back that off now, and I'm going to be doing some more fasting. I haven't done any since I stopped, so I think it's been about 3 weeks since I've done any fasting now. But from tonight, I'm having dinner tonight, and then I'm going to try and do a 72-hour fast, so 3 days, just basically water fast until Thursday night. So that's my plan, and so I'm going to try and kind of limit my water a bit as well, but being sensible about it, because I don't want to cause myself any problems by not drinking enough. But just I'm going to try and drink less than than I probably otherwise would. I'll see how I go with that. So more information on the deuterium. I've got some notes written down here from watching Sarah's video that I was watching. I was just revisiting it for a second time because it's really interesting information. I'll link to that video below as well if I remember. So the difference in water, spring waters tend to be lower in deuterium, whereas a lot of us, our town water tends to be higher. And so water with less deuterium in it is called light water, and then deuterium heavy water is heavy water. And so apparently in colder areas, colder, snowier areas, the water tends to be lighter, and in areas where it's hot and deserts, the water tends to be heavier because there's more evaporation. So the deuterium becomes more concentrated in that water apparently. So as I said, our bodies make our own water and in our cells, or they're supposed to. But if we drink too much water, then that can shut that down. And if we drink too much water and our bodies aren't making its own water, that also can suppress our hormones. So this kind of makes me realize why, maybe why there's a difference in the results that people get on the carnivore diet. You know, could it be that for some of us are drinking too much water and others aren't? Could it be that some of us are eating more foods with higher deuterium than others? Because even within the animal foods, there's a difference. So the amount of deuterium in foods goes like this, all right? So fat has the lowest amount of deuterium in animal fats, especially stearic acid. So stearic acid is high in tallow and butter and different things like that. So there's the fatty acid that is stearic acid apparently is C18. And C18, when we consume that, it causes our cells to create 2.4 times as much water as other fatty acids. So this is why stearic acid obviously has such benefit for our health. The C18 version of stearic acid, because when I was looking it up, I think there's like C18.0, which is the stearic acid that's in the animal fats. That's the one that is beneficial, that has the 2.4 times the amount of water production. But there's also C18.1 and C18.2, which I think come from plants, and they're not the same, so they're not doing the same thing. So it's the stearic acid that is from the saturated fat in animal foods. The fat from animal foods contains the least amount of deuterium of all the foods that we can eat. Then there's meat. So grass-fed meat is a lot lower in deuterium than grain-fed meat. So for those who are living on grain-fed meat, they're going to be consuming more deuterium, especially if their diet is higher protein. If it's higher fat, then maybe not such a big deal, but if they're high protein and low fat, then they're going to be consuming more deuterium. So then it goes, so there's fish. Fish are also good as well. I mean, meat generally is good. Fat's the best, obviously, then meat. Then leafy greens, then root vegetables, then fruit, and then grains, and then ultra-processed foods. So ultra-processed foods contain the most deuterium, grains, kind of the next down, and then, fruit, then root veggies and stuff. So when we are eating fruit and berries and things like that, they are a higher deuterium food, not as high as grains and not as high as ultra-processed foods, but they are still higher. Now, there's something else that we need to know about that, because sunlight breaks down deuterium, especially in the summer when there's a lot of heat in the sun. So if we're eating fruit in the summer, or if we live near the equator where the sun is hot all the time, we're spending a lot of time in the sun, eating fruit isn't going to cause as much of a problem. But if we're eating fruit and berries and things through the winter, when we're not getting the sun, then we're going to get more deuterium building up in our bodies. So this is all starting to make sense. Like when you start putting all of this stuff together, it really starts to make sense when you look at what you're seeing within the carnivore community and the animal-based community. You've got Paul Saladino, who's living on the equator. He's out in the sun all the time, surfing and everything, eating tons of fruit, and by all appearances, seems to be fine with what he's doing. Now, will that continue? To know, but at the moment, he's fine. He seems to be, all his blood tests and everything he has done seem to be fine. I think that this is something that has been not looked at. The deuterium research, I think, has been kind of suppressed because they don't want people to know about this, because it just puts a whole different spin on what we need to be healthy, and really shows that the animal foods are more healthy than plants. So there's a whole lot of research in there, and Dr. Sarah Pugh and this other lady, they were talking about it, to do with dissolved gases and the way that our bodies use these gases, oxygen, carbon dioxide, hydrogen and nitrogen, how the way that our bodies use these gases has been ignored and kind of misrepresented. It's been made out that oxygen is the key to everything, when in actual fact carbon dioxide is really is used a lot more in our bodies than oxygen is, and nitrogen as well. And so it's, I'm not pretending to understand all this stuff, but just listening to what they're saying is really it's interesting, it's intriguing, and the fact that this stuff has all been completely missed out of medical science is a little bit concerning, but good to see that people are actually studying all this stuff and learning about it now. I think there's a lot that we don't know about our biology and about how things function, and a lot that's been kind of left out of the medical texts and not taught when it probably should have been. But I think that there's been reasons for that. I mean, there's massive financial interests in keeping the health system, or the sickness system, the way that it is. So that was what I wanted to share today. That's my update. As I said, I'm going to start fasting from tonight through to Thursday, so that'll be a 3-day fast. I thought I might try that and see how I go. I might just do a 3-day fast once a week for a while, or if that feels too long, then I might do some more alternate day fasting. But I do want to start fasting again. My weight hasn't changed, so my weight has just kind of been going up and down by a kilo, and but pretty much stayed where it's been. So I haven't gained any weight, haven't lost any more weight in the last 3 weeks when I haven't been fasting, which is cool. But yeah, I want to get back to it. I don't think I'm going to make my 10 kilos in 3 months, but I've still got just over a month to go. So if I can do even another 2 or 3 kilos in the next month, then I'll be halfway there. So I'll be happy with that. And it's a long-term plan. It's not a sprint. It's a bit of a marathon, this whole weight loss and health journey. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. And yeah, if you have any comments or questions, just pop them down below. I've got links to the things that I'll put links to what I've spoken about down below this video. If you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share with anybody you think might be interested. And I thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you again another day. Bye for now.